Even though his...
So
what do you mean? Stop saying he did it. Motherfucker, his DNA is on the scene, dog. What the fuck?
Wait, he killed them all at the same time?
Details in Idaho.
We're going to begin with those murders in Idaho. The new details about the man accused of killing 4 students at the University of Idaho. Suspect Brian Kohberger appeared in an Idaho courtroom for the very first time yesterday. And in newly unsealed court documents, police say they identified him, getting into the details, also getting into how they linked him to the crime scene. Also, a chilling affidavit alleges that one of the surviving roommates saw a masked man she did not know walk past her bedroom door the morning of the murders. Omar Villafranca has more now from Moscow, Idaho, but a warning here in a quadruple murder story. Some of these details are disturbing.
Murder suspect Brian Kohberger smiled at his public defender as he faced a judge in Idaho for the first time Thursday.
Count 2 alleges that you committed the felony offense of murder in the first degree. The maximum penalty for that offense, if you plead guilty or are found guilty, is up to death and/or imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
I mean, yes. Yeah, it's fucking Idaho.
He's
they don't
charged
fuck
with stabbing
around.
Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin to death in the early morning hours of November 13th. According to a newly unsealed 18-page affidavit, investigators discovered DNA on a knife sheath similar to this one found on the bed next to Madison Mogan.
Yeah.
They linked that DNA.
He just left him there, and he walked out. Oh, you don't know the details
just
then.
Left them on the campus
so basically, this is like, as far as we know, from what we understand, like this is a criminology PhD at.
He's a PhD.
Yeah, he has a criminology PhD. He's conducted Reddit surveys on like the psychological profile of like criminals. He's asked criminals like why you did the crime. You know, did you think about the victims? That sort of stuff, and he is. Yeah, he circled the night of the murder. He circled with his car, turned his phone off, circled the house, like the block of the house, 4 times. Literally went into the house at like around 4 a.m. Not exactly sure on when he. He's a PhD student. What the fuck? What do you guys want? Did I not say that?
You did. He's studying criminology just to do these dumbass crimes, like to get caught like this. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
he'd be a little more.
Yeah,
Dexter.
I mean, he was not as Dexter like as he would think he is. I mean, he turned off his phone. He did some basic stuff.
Just leaving bodies on the campus.
Like he used a knife. So like, you know, he left his DNA on scene, and there were people who were awake at the time. So he walks into this. He walks into this house. He stabs 4 people to death, and 2 of them are like, you know, in a room. Stop saying he did it. Allegedly. Okay, allegedly. You're right. Stabs 4 people to death, even though his.
So
what do you mean? Stop saying he did it, motherfucker. His DNA is on the scene, dog. What the fuck?
Wait, he killed them all at the same time?
Yeah, that is like actually the unique component here, because like he got caught basically by one of the roommates who didn't understand what was going on and thought like maybe one of her roommates was playing with her dog or something. Opens the door again, and he hears him saying like, "Oh, I'll help you. I can help you." And then opens the door again, sees him like randomly with bushy eyebrows and shit, wearing a black mask. And she closes the door, locks it. He's like worried, but it's like they're drunk. It's a fucking party house. They, you know, plenty of random weird sus people walk in and out of houses like that. So she probably might have not thought more about it. We don't know.
So did he know them? Like, what the fuck is going on here?
We don't know, but it
Also,
doesn't seem like he
does. This man has gone through his whole life, PhD, and then he's just walking into a random house and stabbing everyone.
Yeah.
It's just so bizarre and disturbing.
So, oh yeah, there's another detail. He was likely stalking or seeing one of the victims at night. His phone pinged around the house 12 times since June. Either way, he was consistently scoping out the place. And you know, he went in, he stabbed 4 people to death. He was caught by one of the other survivors. He just basically walked out, and he literally drove away, you know, linked up with his dad. They did a cross-country tour to Pennsylvania. He got caught in Pennsylvania eventually.
DNA to Kohberger by matching it to his father's DNA found in the trash outside the family home.
Yeah, his matching it to the father's DNA outside of the trash in the family home. This is important. This is one of the new details.
Knife sheath, similar to this one, found on the bed next to Madison Mogan. They linked
He
that
left the
DNA
sheath
to
behind.
Coburn
That's
by
carnage
matching
to
it
kill
to his
4 people
father's
at
DNA
knife point.
found in the
that's
trash.
Yeah,
That's
and
like
then they
brutal.
linked the knife sheath DNA to his dad. So he basically took his dad's knife and killed them. Is what the speculation
So wait,
is.
that's so they found the sheath. They swapped it for DNA. So what? His dad has a record or something? I mean, if he's
23andMe.
his dad did a 22andMe.
Not his dad, but like even if an immediate family member has like, or no, not 23andMe. They looked at his trash, right?
They got his DNA from the trash. And
Yeah, they
analyzed it
took his dad's
and said,
DNA.
This DNA is the parent of whoever.
But I thought it was originally from the ancestry tree, like one of the.
So he did do it pretty slick. Like, I mean, the DNA, the DNA forensic they can do now is like insane. It's so hard to get away with murder these days. Like, I mean, what they did against the Golden State Killer, like a few years ago, they fucking
They did that.
Was.
Yeah, they did it through ancestry. Yeah, they linked the sheath to DNA, and then the trash showed DNA of the father or of whoever owned the knife sheath. Yeah.
10 years ago, they would have never caught him.
Yeah.
Or maybe 15. I don't know how recent.
They just said the trash collected. The DNA proved that the DNA in the knife was 99.99999% the son of the DNA
I'm
in the
so
trash.
glad. I personally, people think it's like dystopian. I love it, bro. Let's catch.
I think about like
think
the
it's
ethical,
awesome.
the implications on like how easily like, I mean, I don't know. I worry about that because it's like not 100%, and you can a lot of people assume that
close.
it's like 100%. I fear that.
Genetics. When has anyone ever been mistried over like a genetic mistake? I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Well, a lot of people have actually been declared innocent as a consequence of that. You're right,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. It's just there's something that there's something that I worry about with respect to like being able to basically like scour the DNA footprint or like the DNA genealogy of like every single immediate family member. Like that.
I don't. What's so? I get it's like a little dystopian, but what is it you're afraid of happening exactly with that information?
I think that I worry that like the more we use it, the more it's going to be used in like normal circumstances and not like murder. You know what I mean? It starts off with murder profiles and that's fine, but then and everybody like kind of gets used to it, and then it turns into a problem when like companies are using it or insurance companies are basically using it to like drive up your rates and shit like that. Like there will be commercial use for this that I fear. Here, I'll give you a great example.
Give me an example.
Cameras and CCTV footage is like made it definitely easier to catch criminals in the act. One of the latest things that happened with face tracking technology and cameras everywhere was that there was a law firm that was suing Madison Square Garden. Have you heard of this story? A law firm is suing Madison Square Garden. I forget what the details are exactly, but one of the fucking parents of a school trip that is going to Madison Square Garden, one of the parents that is a part of that law firm that's not even involved in the case directly, was caught on face trackers entering Madison Square Garden, and they literally stopped her from entering Madison Square Garden. They're like, there's an ongoing active lawsuit, and you are a part of this law firm. You can't fucking come in here with your child.
I have reservations about the face tracking just because it's not always accurate, right? Like that one definitely has that one definitely is not reliable enough to convict people, and I've heard of that shit going sideways and wrong people getting convicted on face tracking. But DNA is as close to 100% as you
No,
can
I
get
mean
in
the face
forensics.
tracker is 100% as well. I'm just
No,
saying
it's
that
not.
like
It's not.
No. The utility of it. Do you understand? The utility doesn't stay. My point wasn't about like 100%. My point was the utility of a certain thing can come across as like smart and good originally, and then I can totally see it being used for commercial reasons by like incredibly powerful corporations in the way that I just described to you.
Yeah.
So I fear that like DNA sampling like this is going to be used as like used to like have access to just like the widespread pretty much like information that is, written in your fucking genes is going to be accessible to like every corporation that wants to pay for it eventually. And that is something that I am fearful of.
I guess it's inevitable.
Anyway.
Regardless, eh?
Yeah. So DNA leads to higher insurance rates for cancer. Predisposition could lead to lower credit scores for people. You know what I mean? Like that's Gattaca. Gattaca.
If insurance companies are crunching the numbers, analyzing your DNA, that's pretty fucked up. But wasn't Gattaca about like designer babies and shit?
Yes, but
I love that movie.
But it also is like about. Well, we're already doing that with gene editing. But it also was like you're predetermined to that one has a coding. That one's actually sweet. You'll like that one. It also was about like what capitalism does and what happens when you mix capitalism with genetic predetermination. Like the assumption that like a society run on like the concept of genetic superiority and like having access to the best kind of gene editing would make you a person who, was if you didn't have access to that kind of gene editing, you would be deemed a undesirable person.
That is happening, by the way.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The bleeding edge of like IVF technology is they're already kind of figured out how to determine like height, eye color, hair texture, intelligence. So designer baby thing is coming.
Yeah. So that's my point. That's what I'm fearful of. Anyway, let's continue.
Crash outside
I guess it's
the
good and
family
bad.
home.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
And catching the murderers thing is dope, but it's going to happen. So.
The knife sheath left at the crime scene, which is where they derived the DNA, to me is like a nail in the coffin.
Casey Jordan, a criminologist with no connection to the case, believes the evidence against Kohberger is overwhelming, citing stunning new details in the affidavit from an interview with the surviving roommate. She told investigators she woke up around 4 a.m. and thought she heard Kaylee Gonsalves say, "There's someone here." Later, the roommate said she heard what sounded like crying in Xana Kernodle's room, then a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." When she opened her bedroom door, she told investigators she saw a man she did not recognize wearing black clothes and a mask. She described him as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. She said she stood frozen as the man walked by her to the back door. She then went in her room and locked the door. The affidavit did not explain why police were not called to the scene until noon, about 8 hours later.
I really do believe that
because like so a lot of people, this is why people were like speculating crazy shit. But I mean, it makes sense to me to a certain degree. Like if you're living in like a shared living space with a bunch of other college people and you hear someone crying, you just assume like, oh, there's a fight going on or whatever, right? And you're drunk as fuck regardless, right? You're like drunk as fuck, you pass the fuck out, and then you wake up in the morning and you think, oh my God, someone is like unconscious. One of my roommates is unconscious. That's what they thought originally. Oh, one of my roommates is unconscious. That's why they called 911.
evidence is so strong already, before the investigation is complete, he's going to have an uphill climb to try to be found not guilty.
It's worth noting that investigators laid out several threads tying Kohberger to the crime scene. Now, police say his cell phone pinged in the area of the crimes at least a dozen times before the attacks. Police also say that a white Hyundai was seen speeding away after the attack. He drives a white Hyundai. From there, police say that they were able to track that car's toll tag from Washington State all the way to Pennsylvania. There in Pennsylvania, they got a DNA sample from his parents' trash bin. That DNA sample linked back to the knife sheath found here in Idaho. A lot of police work was going on. He will remain here in the Latah County Jail. He'll be in court next week where he'll enter a plea.
Dude.
Tony?
What a fucking freak.
Wow. I mean, it took some time for police to get that evidence, but there's a lot in this indictment. Omar, thank you very much. In our next hour, 48 Hours correspondent Peter Van Sant will join us with a closer look at the suspect, and also he'll be.
I mean, that we'll give that one to the FBI for sure, because from what I understand,